Marina Laro had spent her entire life preparing for moments that most people could barely even imagine. Her world was the ocean, and her heart belonged to the massive, mysterious predators that ruled it. From a young age, Marina was captivated by orcas, their intelligence, their grace, and the deep emotional bonds they could form. It wasn't just fascination, it was a calling. Every choice she made pointed her toward the sea, and by the time she reached her early 30s, she had become one of the most renowned marine mammal trainers in the world. She had poured her life into understanding these animals, especially one, a massive female orca named Nyla. Nyla wasn't just another performer in the Ocean World Orlando lineup. She was a legend. Captured in the icy waters off Iceland decades earlier, she had spent most of her life in captivity. Despite this, she had developed a reputation for being a performer of rare beauty and precision. But what truly set her apart was the bond she shared with Marina. Trainers came and went, but Marina and Nyla had become inseparable. Their connection was the kind that left audiences breathless. The way Marina could signal with just a subtle gesture and Nyla would respond instantly was mesmerizing. They moved together in the water like twin spirits, one human, one cetacean, perfectly in sync. Colleagues often commented on how Marina seemed to have an unspoken language with Nyla. There was a trust there, a kind of invisible thread tying them together. In the countless shows they performed together, there was never a hint of fear in Marina's eyes. She dove with Nyla, danced on her back, and let the orca lift her into the air as though she weighed nothing at all. To the crowd, it was magic. To Marina, it was home. But there were moments that told a different story, moments that flickered at the edge of perception. Nyla, for all her showmanship, had a history. Beneath her sleek black and white exterior was a creature shaped by trauma. She had been ripped from the ocean as a calf, torn from her family pod, and thrust into a world of confinement, noise, and performance. In the early days, her aggression was minimal, a snap at the water, a missed cue, a display of teeth. Things that were easily explained away. But slowly, patterns emerged. She would refuse commands more frequently, slap her tail harder than necessary, and show flashes of irritation that only the most experienced trainers could recognize. Marina saw these signs, of course. But she didn't see danger. She saw a misunderstood partner. She believed that their connection could overcome anything, that love and patience were enough to bridge the gap between captivity and wild instinct. It was a belief rooted in her compassion, and perhaps, in a sense of denial. Because to accept that Nyla might truly be dangerous would mean re-evaluating everything Marina believed in. That June afternoon started like so many others. The sun was high, the stands were full, and Marina stood backstage, her wetsuit already damp with anticipation. She gave Nyla a quick nod as they made eye contact through the water. The crowd roared as the music started. It was the kind of summer performance that tourists would talk about for years. But beneath the surface, something was off. Nyla seemed hesitant from the beginning. She breached slightly out of sync with the opening beat, her dorsal fin twitching more than usual. Trainers noted it, but again, brushed it off. Marina entered the water, her movements smooth, confident. She swam toward Nyla, who hovered just beneath the surface, her massive form casting a long shadow. What happened next would forever change the way the world looked at captive marine mammal performances. At first, the encounter seemed routine. Marina climbed onto Nyla's back, signaling the start of a mid-show spin. The orca responded, but with a slower, almost reluctant motion. The audience, unaware of the nuance, cheered. Marina gave another signal, this time for a dive and lift maneuver. Nyla submerged, and Marina followed. But when they resurfaced, something was clearly wrong. Nyla surfaced rapidly, her blowhole spraying a high burst of mist, then whipped around faster than expected. Marina tried to regain control with a hand signal, her body tense, eyes locked on Nyla. Then, in an instant, the orca lunged. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a miscue. Nyla clamped her jaws around Marina with a force no human could survive. Screams erupted from the audience. Trainers rushed toward the platform, radios crackling, emergency protocols activated. But it was already too late. Marina disappeared beneath the surface, locked in the grip of the very creature she trusted most. What followed was chaos. Lifeguards and rescue divers entered the pool, while guests were quickly evacuated from the stadium. Nyla, still in the water, circled slowly, her behavior eerily calm. It took nearly 30 minutes to retrieve Marina's body. The crowd had been silenced, the park temporarily shut down. And a once celebrated bond lay shattered at the bottom of the pool. In the days that followed, the world erupted with questions and grief. News outlets ran headlines about the tragedy. Social media flooded with videos, tributes, and outrage. How could this happen? How could a creature so loved and seemingly tame turn so violent? Investigations were launched. Reports on Nyla's behavior history surfaced, detailing a string of earlier incidents, most of which had never been made public. Experts weighed in. Marine biologists spoke about orca psychology, about the stress of captivity, the effects of isolation, and the long-term trauma caused by confinement. Former trainers shared their own near-miss stories, painting a picture of an industry built on spectacle, but fraught with risk. Many pointed to the conditions at marine parks, where large predators were kept in tanks far smaller than their natural habitats, forced to perform daily routines with little mental stimulation. Yet others mourned not only Marina's death, but the bond that had been lost. They remembered her passion, her dedication, her belief that understanding and empathy could bridge any gap. Marina had fought for these animals. She had spent her life trying to protect them, to bring people closer to them, to teach the world about their beauty and complexity. In a way, her death became a turning point. For many, it marked the end of an era, a moment when the cost of performance became too high to ignore. Advocacy groups called for change. Protests erupted outside Ocean World Orlando and other marine parks around the country. Lawmakers began debating stricter regulations, even bans on orca performances. And for the first time in decades, the public seemed ready to listen. Back at the park, Nyla was placed under observation. No decisions were made about her future. Some argued she should be released to a sea sanctuary, others believed she was too dangerous, too imprinted by captivity to ever be trusted again. But above all, people were left wondering what went wrong. Was it a tragic accident? A moment of miscommunication? Or was it the inevitable breaking point of a creature pushed too far, too long? What we do know is this: Marina Laro died doing what she loved, trusting in the connection she had built over years of dedication. Her story is not just one of tragedy, but of complexity, of the thin line between love and danger when working with nature's most powerful forces. She gave everything to Nyla, to the dream of swimming with giants. And in the end, it was that very dream that consumed her. But maybe, just maybe, Marina's story will be the spark that pushes us to reconsider our relationship with these extraordinary creatures. To ask not just what they can do for our entertainment, but what they need to truly live. The ocean is vast, and the orcas belong to it. Perhaps it's time we let them go home. Beneath Nyla's stunning exterior, there was an anger that no one wanted to see. A force growing silently over time, feeding on isolation, stress, and years of captivity. Even Marina, who knew Nyla better than anyone, couldn't have predicted how that hidden storm would one day erupt. It wasn't just a matter of one animal turning aggressive, it was the culmination of years of pressure, systemic neglect, and the illusion of control that humans so often place over wild creatures. The signs had been there, small, repeated warnings, but no one truly listened. It was a warm, humid summer afternoon at Ocean World Orlando, the kind of day when the sky glared a blinding blue, and families poured through the gates, drawn by the promise of spectacle and wonder. The scent of popcorn, sunscreen, and saltwater hung in the air. Children tugged at their parents' hands, eager to grab a good seat. The main event, the Dances with Giants show, was about to begin. It was the centerpiece of the park's offerings, an awe-inspiring routine featuring human trainers performing synchronized stunts with colossal orcas. As 2:30 p.m. approached, the amphitheater filled with noise and anticipation. Spectators packed the stands, their voices rising in chatter and excitement. The pool in the center glistened under the sun, perfectly still, reflecting the steel towers and the curved glass canopy above. Backstage, Marina Laro was preparing like she always did, calm, focused, radiating that confidence she was known for. She had done this show dozens of times. She and Nyla had practiced the sequence endlessly. There was no room for error. The highlight of today's show was a trick they had executed many times. Marina would signal Nyla to rise beneath her, lifting her gracefully on the orca's rostrum above the water's surface, an elegant, iconic pose. It symbolized trust, harmony, and years of companionship. But on this day, something felt off. As the show began, there was tension in the air that Marina couldn't quite explain. Nyla was slow to respond. Her usual energy and alertness were absent. She swam in slow, deliberate circles instead of rushing to her mark. Marina gave her familiar hand signals, but the orca's reaction was delayed. Her movements lacked their usual precision. Marina tried to keep things moving smoothly. She smiled for the audience, maintained her composure, and whispered to herself that everything was fine. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. At 2:47 p.m., the moment arrived. Marina moved into position at the edge of the pool, gave the signal, and waited. Nyla surfaced slowly, eyeing Marina with an expression that those in the crowd would interpret as intelligence and affection. But it wasn't. It was something else entirely. Instead of rising beneath her trainer in a flawless arc, Nyla nudged Marina playfully at first, an off-script gesture that caused a ripple of laughter from the crowd. Marina smiled, played along, and tried to guide the orca back into formation. But Nyla wasn't listening. Then came a second nudge, but this time it was not playful. It was powerful, abrupt. Marina stumbled slightly but recovered. Her instincts told her to step back, but years of trust and experience urged her to stay. She gave the signal again. And then, everything changed. With shocking speed, Nyla surged upward, her massive jaws opening in a flash. Before Marina could react, the orca clamped down on her arm with a force that made the water tremble. Marina gasped in pain, her body twisting violently as Nyla pulled her into the pool. The audience gasped, still unsure if this was part of the act. Some cheered, unaware of the terror unfolding before them. Beneath the surface, Marina was plunged into chaos. Bubbles, motion, pressure. Nyla held on tightly, dragging her deeper into the water. Marina fought to break free, kicking, twisting, trying desperately to reach the surface. But Nyla wasn't letting go. Years of training, of love, of shared time in the water, it all seemed meaningless now. The pool roiled with activity. Trainers shouted into radios. Emergency alarms blared. Some guests screamed as they realized this was no performance. Security rushed to evacuate the crowd. Chaos erupted. Underwater, Marina's lungs screamed for air. Her vision blurred. Her body grew weaker. Nyla finally released her only to grab her again, this time by the torso. Marina's wetsuit tore as the orca thrashed. The water turned pink with blood. For several agonizing minutes, Nyla refused to surface. She circled, dove, rose, and dove again, holding Marina like a ragdoll. By the time emergency divers reached them, it was too late. Marina's motionless body was pulled from the pool, pale, broken, lifeless. Attempts to revive her were immediate and desperate, but her injuries were too severe. She was declared dead at the scene, her dreams shattered in the very place she had once felt most alive. The news spread like wildfire. Headlines around the world carried the tragic story of the star trainer killed by her beloved orca. Ocean World Orlando shut down operations, launching an internal investigation. Animal rights groups protested outside the gates. Former trainers gave emotional interviews. Families who had witnessed the horror reported trauma. And the question on everyone's mind was, how could this happen? The truth was, it had always been a risk. Orcas are apex predators. Intelligent, emotional, but also dangerous when confined. Nyla's history of aggression had been buried in reports, dismissed by officials, rationalized by trainers. And Marina, dedicated, passionate, and loyal, had ignored those signs, trusting the bond they had built over years. But in the end, Nyla wasn't a partner. She was a wild animal, confined to a concrete tank, denied her nature. And that frustration had finally boiled over. In the months that followed, Ocean World faced intense scrutiny. Nyla was removed from public performances, placed into a private tank where she no longer performed. The park re-evaluated its safety protocols, restructured its training programs, and promised reforms. But the damage was done. A life was lost. A family shattered. A legacy stained. Marina's funeral was attended by hundreds. Fellow trainers, friends, and family gathered to celebrate the life of a woman who gave everything to the creatures she loved. Her story became a symbol, not just of tragedy, but of a deeper truth about the price of captivity, the illusion of control, and the wildness we can never tame. Today, her name lives on in both admiration and caution. In whispered conversations among trainers. In signs posted at tanks. In documentaries questioning the future of marine shows. Marina Laro died doing what she loved. But her death was not just a loss, it was a reckoning. A reminder that no matter how close we believe we are to nature, some distances were never meant to be crossed. And sometimes, love is not enough to protect us from the deep.